Hey there, I'm Heidi Swapp. If you know me, you know that I love to look for unusual ways to use usual things. And one of the things that I love, and I actually have lots of them in my house, are these, it's called a paper envelope by Cropper Hopper. And they've been around for a long time. The real use for them is for, like it says it stores 200 sheets of cardstock in here. So it's like a gusseted envelope with a Velcro closure. And you know, I was actually just looking around trying to come up with something that I could make an album for my 7-year-old daughter. It was her birthday just not too long ago, and I wanted something that was going to be durable because she loves to look at them and play with them and show her friends and stuff like that. And so I thought, you know what? I was just looking for something that was like this material that I could create an album out of, and I wasn't finding anything. So I thought, you know what the heck? I'm going to make an album out of this. So let me start out by just showing you what this looks like. The thing that I love about it, I love the clear cover. I love that you can see through. So you start out by opening up the album, and I have kind of done a back-to-back embellishing on the cover so that you didn't see the backside of those banners. So I added in here some of my mini files, the Sugar Chic mini files, and some of the papers from the Sugar Chic paper pad. And just kind of combined lots of different patterns and styles, and then filled it with the photos of her and her friends. I even made some little homemade photo stacks and added some journaling so that she would remember her party. But then the back of it created another little pocket, and so I used a couple other little files and created another separate little album that has some little pocket pages in here and an extra little page and some little photo flips here too that kind of document all the presents that she got, because I think that it's going to be a really fun thing to look back and see what she was so excited about as a 7-year-old. And that kind of tucks into this extra little pocket. So it just feels like there's all these really special bits and pieces to this album, and she really loved it. So I'm going to show you what I did to make it. So what I gathered up was a few of my mini files. This is a mixture of Vintage Chic and the Sugar Chic mini files. And then I also grabbed some double-sided papers from my stash, and I cut them down to 8 inches tall. All right, then I took my paper folder, and you'd be surprised, you can just stick it right into your trimmer and cut it. So we don't want to cut, we're just going to cut the sides off of it. So don't cut the bottom off of it. So I'm just going to tuck it into my trimmer. This is the Fiskars trimmer that is a little bit longer. Oh, actually, why don't we just start out by trimming off. I'm trimming off the gusseted edge, and that's that part that folds. And so that was the first thing that I cut off. And I went ahead and cut that off on both sides. And I'm just using my Tim Holtz scissors, which cuts really easily through. The plastic isn't super hard. It's a pretty flexible material, but it's also really nice and durable too. All right, so now I've cut the two sides off, and now let me just measure where we're at, because I wound up cutting it down to 10 inches. So I'm going to cut another inch off each edge. So most of it will cut with the trimmer, like you see here. But then when it just gets to those ends, you might just have to help it along a little bit. But when you use it in your trimmer, it does help you to kind of cut it straight. So now I'm going to pull out the measurement because I do want it to be about 10 inches wide. All right. Okay, so then I'm just going to kind of use my scissors to finish trimming along that edge that I didn't quite get to cut. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and discard some of those extra pieces. So now I kind of have like this long piece of plastic. And I kind of stared at it a while before I actually decided what I wanted to do, because I knew I wanted to create some compartments, but I also knew that I wanted the Velcro to still work. So I actually ended up folding it in. So if you take it and open it all the way up, I folded it all the way up, almost to the top, about a ½ inch short of the top. And then I just made a crease. And then I'm going to fold the part that has the Velcro up. And I tried to line up the bottom part where the creases were, because I figured I could trim off the top. Now, if you want to use a scoring tool will totally score this material, and it will take away some of the guesswork involved. I have this piece of black paint on my finger that now just transferred to my project. All right, so you can see that this now is kind of like a flat little almost purse style item, but the hook, the Velcro still works. And I'm just going to trim off this inside edge, and I trimmed off, and once you get yours folded, you can decide how much you'd like to trim off. I trimmed off about a ½ inch. Okay, I'll set that right there. Okay, so now we go to the sewing machine. And, you know, again, I'm always kind of testing my sewing machine with what it will actually sew through. But I did realize that there was kind of an order in which things needed to be done. Now, these pages, I actually sewed right into the fold, into the first fold. I actually just bound them into the book by sewing right down the middle. You could also bind this together by punching some holes here and tying them in with a ribbon. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a couple of these papers, and maybe for now I'll just take 2 of these papers. And I folded them in half, just like so. And I'm actually going to tuck one of them in, and then I think I'll use another mini file, and I'll tuck one more paper in. So I actually have 4 pieces of paper that I'm tucking into this. And now I'm going to literally just sew it right along that front crease. All right, so it's important to have those creases in place so that that's kind of what you can follow. And I'm just going to use a straight stitch. Let's see here. And I usually like to go forward and back and forward to just kind of set the stitch in the beginning. And then I'm just going to follow the crease all the way down. I'm going to knock stuff off if I'm not careful. All right. Let's see. So now I'm just going to make sure that this is going to fold nice again. And I'll trim off my little stringies. And I'm using a white thread. You could always use a really fun bright thread so that it sticks out more. All right, so now you can see that I have my little book completed in the first crease. And this second crease is what I'm going to use for, I'm going to make into a pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sew the sides closed. Now in this case you could also staple them, or you could use like a really heavy duty tacky tape to make the sides stay closed. But all I'm going to do, and you could use a zigzag stitch or a straight stitch. So I just did a couple little back and forths at each end to make sure that it won't unravel. And on this other side, I'm just sewing it from the back side so that it's easier to fit into my sewing machine. All right. Get my creases done here too. Now we've talked and I've showed you lots of different ways that I like to make little mini books inside the file folders, and it just so happens that the file folders are just the exact right size for this project. So if you wanted to take just one file folder, or you could put two file folders together, or you could even add another page inside the little mini file folders, however you like, that will just tuck right inside that back pocket. So you have a little place for a back story and a front story, and then it will all close and be a nice tidy little book. And then you can embellish the cover and obviously fill it up with lots and lots of photos. So hopefully you can get your hands on one of these really cool paper envelopes so that you can make yourself a really fun and interesting paper envelope album. And I hope you have fun making pretty stuff.